Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. This is part of our podcast called Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. So we are so happy to be here today. It is a beautiful day here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think we're getting closer and closer to spring.
Yeah, the buds are coming out.
They are. My hairstylist told me yesterday we still may have one last snow that will push the buds out. She was born and raised here in Santa Fe, so I believe her that we will probably still have one more snow before the season's over. But it is a beautiful day. I think it may be around 60 degrees or something.
Yeah, or more.
Or more. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this. So we're going to talk today about how a man feels when a woman is trying to seal the deal. So how does it make a man feel when a woman is trying to seal the deal? It's actually interesting. I don't come out of the corporate world. I never actually worked for someone else other than a waitressing job. And when I was a photographer, I ran the American Society of Magazine Photography office for a little while, but that was about it. And so this idea of sealing the deal is something that I have observed from a lot of our clients who come out of the corporate world or who are very driven women who are quite masculine, and they take on this very masculine role in dating, in the pursuit of a relationship. It becomes like another real estate sale or another business deal. But some women, and I hear this all the time on calls when I do breakthrough calls, those are our initial calls that we do before we enroll new clients. And on those calls, we can hear how masculine, and one of the catchphrases that I know I've got to seal the dealer on my hands is when they will say to me, I get everything I want in life except this. And the one thing that women need to know is that whatever works in business doesn't work in love. So let's dive in, babe, and let's talk about what does it mean to seal the deal? What does that mean?
Well, it means to close the contract, to in dating, to find a guy and have him commit and have that lead to a either marriage or a lifelong relationship.
But they're really driven. I mean, it's like they see it as another box to check off their to-do list, and they approach it almost like a negotiation. Oh, I see this, I want this, I'm going to get it, and I got to get it in the bag, right? Like there's not romance, there's no room for cultivating a connection and love and whatever. They're so focused on the outcome that they obliterate all of the beautiful nuances of getting to know someone or letting someone get to know them.
Right. It's, my vision is of sealing the deal is that if a man, let's say, sees a beautiful car and a car that he's wanted for a long time, he walks into the dealership, he loves this car, and then the salesman starts pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. He's going to leave the dealership, even though it was his dream car. That when he feels like he's being backed up against the wall, or that he's the object of someone else's agenda, they'll back out. And the same with dating and relationship. If a guy he could be seeing the most wonderful woman, and if he feels like he's somehow being sold or manipulated, he's going to he'll feel his back is against the wall and he'll want to exit.
Well, and I think if I can add to that, a man wants to feel like he's making his own decision, that it's his choice, it's his decision. And when we talk about men loving the chase, it doesn't necessarily mean that a man wants a woman who plays hard to get and also manipulates him that way. He can feel that kind of manipulation as well if a woman is playing hard to get. So that's just the opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah.
But if he feels manipulated into making a decision or backed up against the wall, he's going to push back against that.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where a woman may want something so badly that she'll push it away.
Can I ask you why? I'm going to digress for a moment, but what is it about a man that he wants to make his own decisions and that he's going to really resent a woman who gives him ultimatums or forces him or who he senses is just trying to seal the deal because she wants a partner and she wants to put a picture in that picture frame that you talk about? Why do men need to make their own decisions?
Well, it's a man's purpose to pursue a woman. And when he feels that he's being overwhelmed by being pursued, he loses that. It's emasculating. And he's playing defensive instead of really developing and having the woman be responsive. And for a woman to be responsive in every aspect is so crucial. So if she has her own agenda, that's not being responsive to him. So, and a man doesn't like to be told what to do, how to do it, or when to do it. And I think he grew up.
Why? What is that? Where does that come from?
I think that mothers and teachers and authority figures have told him that over the years that men can become allergic to being told what to do.
I don't know, honey, if your mic is really I don't know why there's not. Can you talk into the mic?
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to be sure to really talk into the mics. So what is it? I want to know, like at the core of a man's being, when a mother or a boss or an authority figure is telling him what to do, what does that feel like for a man?
Well, it feels like he's a little boy, and it's emasculating.
And I'm going to pause you there. As a woman, let's say I don't understand what the word emasculate means.
Well, it means that to take away a man's sense of manhood. So if a man is being pursued or being told what to do or how to do it or being manipulated, that men like to be on the more proactive, and I'll use the term on the offensive rather than on the defensive. And if he's being told what to do by a boss or by a mother or by a teacher or by a woman that he's dating, and if he feels manipulated, that he's now on the defensive and he loses some of that masculine power because he's retracting it to try to pull away.
And again, what is so important about that for a man?
Well, I think the most important thing for a man in a relationship is to have his masculinity mirrored back to him. And I know I've said that before, but it is so important. It is such a key
Why is
element.
it important?
Well, because for a man, it's his purpose. It's his purpose, and he seeks a woman who can mirror back his masculinity
To bring it out.
to bring it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a woman being feminine can bring out a man's masculinity.
But if a woman is trying to seal the deal, it takes his masculinity and his power of choice away.
Yes, exactly.
And he can feel that.
Yeah.
And some men will capitulate. Some men will give in to that. But those aren't the men that we respect. Those aren't the men ultimately that we really want, because even as women, we know that we've pressured you into getting what we want from you, but we sense down deep that it's not really what we want either.
Right. I think that it's one of these things of be careful what you want, because if a woman pressures a man in to seal the deal and she gets the guy to commit to long-term relationship, to marriage and having kids, she may have lost respect for him because she had manipulated him. And in doing so, in her eyes, he may seem less than, because he didn't approach the courtship in a masculine way. He was manipulated by a woman.
But, in some ways, she never gave him that chance. And then she resents him because she felt she had to push him. And, a lot of women, this is I love this conversation, by the way, because it's interesting for both of us. We've never really explored this subject in such depth. But I can also see where there's a lot of women who come into relationships so anxious or so goal-oriented. I got to get the guy. I need to cross this. This is the one last thing on my list. If I could just get a guy, and my life would be perfect. And they're looking for that guy, and they don't even know if it's really the right guy. On paper, he may look good, but even on paper, it's so important to think about, like, you may see somebody who looks great on the outside. We have a young woman in our mastermind program who's been looking at all these very handsome men. And I mean, she is gorgeous, and she is the full package. And all of these men have been vacuous. They've been non-committal. They're not the right guys, even though they have great jobs. They look great. They say great things on their profiles. But it's so beyond that. I think what people don't get is, no matter how good, it's like a house. I was telling one of our other mastermind participants who is a realtor, and I was saying to her, you wouldn't encourage your client to walk into a house and look around and go, okay, let's do it. The house may look great. They may have put a new coat of paint and buffed it up and made it all look good and shiny. But then you get into the inner workings of that house and you start to see that the plumbing is rotting, and right. And so it's the same with two people. Even if you're two really good people, you may not match up. And so these women go into these almost like negotiations, these dates, and they're already so hell-bent on just checking that box off that they don't even see or get to know the man who's sitting in front of them, and even know if he's a good match for her.
Right. And with the analogy with the house, they're ignoring yellow flags and even red flags along the way because they're so goal-oriented. And a man may feel pressured by a woman, but a woman may feel pressured by her friends, her married friends, her family. When are you going to get married? Why are you still single? When are we going to have grandkids?
Yeah.
All of that. So there's tremendous pressure all around a woman to seal the deal.
Right. And aging and feeling like, women by and large, at least in our cultures, are prized for their youth and beauty. It's almost like men get better as they age because we look to men for their wisdom and for their wealth and, for their accomplishments. But women actually, just culturally, it's gone in the reverse. We get older, we're not as pretty, we're not as young, we're not as vibrant. And so we lose our edge, men gain their edge in some ways. And for us, there's so much pressure to just get it done, whether it's when we're young and we want babies and there's a time clock ticking. And if we don't find our guy and have children before it's too late, there's that. And then after 40, we start worrying that now we're too old and we're not, the young kid on the block or the young woman. And so it's always this feeling for a lot of women that we're never enough,
Yeah.
And I know one of the beauties of the work that we do and that I know I've developed and cultivated is really this third way of being, this third way of looking at love and partnership and men and relationship from our course is called Emotionally Naked Dating.
Right.
And what I realized was that the physical thing, the physical connection and chemistry and all is something that just can just happen. It's sort of an uncontrolled and uncontrollable thing in a lot of ways, especially when we're young. But the real thing that we're all longing for is this deep emotional connection. And so what I teach women is how to actually create a guardian of your soul relationship, but in a completely different way. So you don't have to be the prettiest or the youngest or the fittest woman in the room. If you're a woman who truly gets men, if you understand the workings of their hearts and what they're longing for from us, and you learn how to give men, mirror their masculinity back in your words, it's a whole different way. But sealing the deal obfuscates all of that.
Right. They get to the destination, but it may not be the destination that really will satisfy them for the rest of their lives. I mean, there's such a difference between meeting someone and deciding, well, he's a good catch, and sealing the deal, to a guardian of their soul relationship. And we've mentioned this before, but the guardian of the soul relationship is really about two people who could see each other more than they could see themselves. And they could see their soul's journey more than that individual can see that journey. And they will foster that journey, do whatever they can to help that person along that journey. And how many relationships do we know that are like that?
Our clients.
Our clients.
And Randy and Cynthia.
Right.
I don't know very many, Lydia and Steele probably, but very, very, very few.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that people don't realize, I was actually answering a comment on my YouTube feed this morning. And I think, somebody said, oh, you're so lucky, the connection that you and Benjamin have is so rare. And I really want to say it is rare, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, because what we're teaching our clients is how to have this. And you and I didn't just stumble into this. Both of us did a tremendous amount of work before we met each other. We were really working on ourselves so that we could come into our next relationship in a much healthier way. And I think both of us wanted relationships. We never wanted to be alone, even though we had failed in our past marriages and with other partners. But we did the work to get here. And that's what we teach our clients. And that's why we have, Lori and Jim and Leanne and Way and Sam and Rebecca and so many of these amazing Natalie and Alex now. And I mean, hundreds. We could go on and on and on about these amazing, deeply connected partnerships that we have helped create, and the thousands of emails and messages we get every day from our clients and former clients about what a miracle it is to actually have a roadmap for making this happen. So let's go back to sealing the deal. This is really, I want to talk about something very, very important having to do with this, babe. And that I want to look at, without mentioning any names, but a few couples that are a few women that we know who have been trying to seal the deal. And what we've seen, and I think this is so important for everybody who's listening to understand, you cannot play games. There is, even though we give you a roadmap for getting here, this is so genuine and from the heart. And it is it really is not a process of getting a guy or doing something. It's actually a process of letting go and surrendering.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen women who have tried, that they feel like they've been pushing and manipulating, and they'll say, well, now I'm just going to lay back and do nothing, and which is still manipulation.
It can be a strategy.
Yeah.
If it's not done from a place of pure surrender.
Yes.
And completely letting go, if they're still holding on to that outcome, and people are listening, some of the women listening are going to say, but what if I surrender and let go, and I really do want a relationship, and I really do let go? Like, what does that even look like?
Well, ideally, a relationship develops as co-creation, and relationships have stages. And when someone, either man or woman, wants to jump ahead to seal the deal, we miss a lot of those stages. I see relationships almost like child development, that, a child first, does this, then they turn over, then they begin to crawl, and then they do this. And if they miss one of those stages, there's going to be a deficit later on. So if someone, man or woman, but if a woman jumps ahead to seal the deal, they miss all these developmental stages in the relationship, and the relationship will suffer.
Well, I'll give an example just for myself. When I met you, I knew from the moment we met that you were an extraordinary person. I knew that. And I think it's just in your essence. I think anybody meeting you feels that instantly. I didn't know, and I was, thank God, humble enough not to go, oh my God, I've met him and I'm gonna, this is it and whatever. I said, Lisa, this man is crazy about you, and you have to see where this goes. And I knew that I could only do the best I could do at the time, right? All the work I had been doing with Don Miguel and in my spiritual psychology master's program and all the other courses and things I'd done, including traditional therapy, I had all of these amazing tools, but I was not naive. I had nowhere near mastered these things, but my heart was in the right place. And so I went into this knowing it could go either way. I could blow it, and, you could find out that I just wasn't ready. I wasn't there. Or I would do my very, very best, and you would see my heart, and maybe it would work. I also didn't know how our lives would fit together. And that was another thing. I remember sitting and thinking to myself many times on dates, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how our lives are going to come together. And I really give myself credit for being willing to just surrender and allow this to unfold. And what I did see was you coming towards me, always making these beautiful efforts and gestures. There was a point where I was at your house and you asked me, what do you need? Like, what can I get for you? And I said, well, I was on a food program. I need a scale. And the next time I came over, you had a scale there for me to weigh my food. And then you told me to go to IKEA to buy a closet for my things. And, there were all these beautiful gestures, and I observed that, but I never once, I don't even know if I ever had a conversation with you about where are we going? How are we doing? What do you think of me? Did we ever have those conversations?
I think in our relationship, and I think in many healthy relationships, unlike every rom-com we've ever seen, where that being engaged is such a natural, invisible process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, suddenly someone on vacation gets on their knee and presents a diamond ring, and the woman is so surprised, and that by that time, the two people should be so co-creating the relationship that, it's almost an afterthought. When I proposed to you, we had already bought a house together in both of our names, and, like throughout all of, our individual furniture, gave it away, and or sold it on a lawn sale for pretty much giving it away. But it should be seamless, because it was just these natural progressions, and we didn't miss any developmental stage along the way. So I actually had to, long after, we knew we were getting married, I, got a reservation at a great hotel, a great restaurant in Los Angeles, and got down on my knee just so that it was done. But, it was almost like just, like after the fact, because it should be so natural. And when it comes to the surprise, that's almost like a yellow flag that it means that we're skipping some stages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a client one of my all-time favorite clients ever, and I will never, ever forget her, Leslie. We went to her wedding.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And
oh, yes.
It was so sweet. But she and her now husband, they have two beautiful children. And I remember when Leslie told me about when her husband proposed to her, and it was so, like you said, just so seamless and whatever. And there was a beautiful conversation about what their future would look like together. And she was a professor, so she was on sabbatical in Boston. She was from LA, but she was doing a thing in Boston at another university during this time. And she was home visiting, and they had this conversation. And it wasn't until she got back to Boston that she was like, oh, he just proposed to me. That was the proposal. And I think that was very much the way our relationship went. There was no forcing or pushing or agenda. And the truth was that I had already decided very early on in the relationship that I was going to spend my life with you. And I think that something people do is they take a step, but then it's contingent on what the other person does. And I decided that I was going to make my own decisions. If I loved you, I loved you. And until you said, hey, let's do this, or I need to move on, this isn't working for me. But I had both feet in, and I would have taken you no matter what. There was nothing you could say to push me away. I was fully in. And if you were going to have me. So that was the beauty. And I know sometimes we paint the picture of our relationship kind of like this beautiful fairy tale that is not attainable for other people. And I think that the sadness of that, the thing that breaks my heart about that, is so much of therapy, which I completely believe is a wonderful process. We both benefited greatly from our work with excellent therapists. So I want to say that, for every therapist out there or any therapist who's listening, both Benjamin and I are the products of great therapy. And having said that, therapy will not necessarily get you here where you and I are, because there is a whole other process of learning about the opposite sex, how to interrelate in a healthy way, how men think, what men need, what women need, how to communicate our needs in a way that doesn't shame men and push them away, how to invite a man into your life, and also how to step into your feminine. So there's all of these things that we teach people in our program, how to recognize a great partner. That's the first thing. And it's not just a click factor. There's many, many parts to how to choose the right partner that people miss. So there's this whole other skill set. And in some ways, these are skills. It's not even some mystical, magical thing. It's something that we teach rather effectively to many, many women who then go on to find guardians of their souls. But let's go back, if we can, honey, to this process of letting go and surrendering.
Well, yes, it's letting go and surrendering, but it's also active. Because it's active in really becoming vulnerable and sharing yourself and encouraging the vulnerability in your partner or future partner. It's about being active in obtaining clarity of what, not only who your ideal mate would be, but how one is entering a potential relationship. Have we done our work? Are we clear of what we want and who we are and who we're not and what we don't want? So it is a surrendering to the process, but a very active process also, which is what the course is about, of all these things that make one ready and attractive, so people can attract their perfect partner rather than trying to promote.
Right. And that's the other thing that we talk about in the program is it is inviting a man into your life. It's inviting someone. So it's not about leaning back and doing nothing. That is not the answer here. It is learning how to take the feminine lead. And leaning back and letting a man chase you and not doing anything, a lot of times coaches present that as, oh, well, you weren't, you were too pushy. You were trying to seal the deal and that doesn't work. And now you need to lean back and just let men pursue you. Well, that doesn't work either. Again, opposite sides of the same coin. We teach women how to take the feminine lead. And as you were saying, the feminine lead is a co-creation with a man. It is a way of saying, these are the things I would love to find in a partner. This is what I'm seeking in a relationship. And then saying to that man, and tell me, what are you looking for? And is there a way that we can meet in the middle? I know I've been dreaming my dream and you've been dreaming your dream, but can we dream a tandem dream together? And what would that look like? And making room for two people, but you have to offer yourself and he has to offer himself. So this is where it becomes proactive. Most women will just say, well, this is what I'm looking for. And then they let the man say, well, that's what I'm looking for. And you have two you have two points of view that go like this, instead of saying, well, this is what I would love. What would you love? What would you like? And can we put these dreams together? So that's the difference. But it's not just sitting back and doing nothing. It's a co-creation, and it's finding someone who can dream with you together and where you can dream with him.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, it's really about that. So, may I ask you, what is the motivation behind this behavior?
Well, I think it's an insecurity, and I think it's a fear, and it could even be a panic. And it's also just something that society has told women, that they grow up, they get educated, they find a guy, and they, if they decide to have kids or not, but that's part of what's expected of them. And when they haven't found the right guy, they may have devoted themselves to their career. They may have devoted themselves to other things, including self-development. They may have been finding themselves, and they find themselves, at an age where they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's like that poster that said, 'Oh my gosh, I left the baby on the bus.'" They just forgot about.
Or I forgot to have oh my God, I forgot to have a kid.
Exactly. That's it. That's it. So I think that what should be a natural and beautiful process of meeting people and beginning to find that special one among those people that she's meeting. And in our program, we encourage women to date more than one person at a time. Mm-hmm. We encourage them to see or be in communication with approximately 3 men, so they don't project all of this onto one guy. And so you ask, why do women do this? And it's because all of the things we talked about: pressure from their family, pressure from their friends, seeing their friends not only be married, but having kids, and then feeling left out because they're now the fifth wheel, if they go out with friends, or third wheel. So for a guy to feel this energy, it's actually repelling. And what could be a really perfect partnership where two people attract each other, if someone is promoting, the other person feels like they're being sold, like at that car dealership we talked about at the very beginning.
Yeah. It's funny. I did that. I mean, I know I was married. I was 13 years with my ex-husband. I stayed with him because I was so afraid that if I left, I wouldn't meet anyone else. And all of this was motivated by a lack of success in this area of my life. I felt so much more successful in my career, in my friendships with other women and all, but I didn't really understand anything about this part of my life, anything. And it was so painful for me that I avoided it. And then I ascribed to this idea that I was just going to meet somebody when the time was right. And that didn't happen. Or what actually happened was I just kept meeting the wrong people and getting involved with them for the wrong reasons. And I knew I had to stop and look at this part of my life in order to get it right. That was the turning point for me. Was I just said, look, if I don't face this and really look at what's going on here, I may never find a real partner. And for me, because I had been doing so much spiritual work and introspective work, I understood. It was just crystal clear to me that love was the key to life. This is the most beautiful part of life, is having a partner. And I understand that many women push it away because they've had so much pain and suffering. And then you meet somebody and it's like, oh my God, here it is. I've been waiting for this. And now because I'm so successful in my career, I work out, I just had my Botox and whatever, and I look my best, and here he is, he's waltzing into my life. And then it falls flat again. It just upends, and you're right back where you were, and you have just another failure on your hands. And eventually people are like, women get to the point where, why bother? My cats love me. My dog gets excited every time I come home. What do I need a guy for? But the right guy makes, oh my God, these last 20 years with you have been, nobody could imagine the fun we have just going to the grocery store, going to the gym, looking over and smiling at each other across the gym and looking at, I get to look at your muscles when you're doing those lat things, whatever. But yeah, it's so amazing to have this, and it's so doable. I mean, maybe people, I'm not saying everybody's going to find this, but whatever your version is of this. I mean, we have some very dear friends, a couple where they grew up, in both of them, in very quiet households, and they love to argue. And they actually made an agreement that they could have a good out and out debate, about something and really get it out. And they love it. They said it's exhilarating for them, but they also know when to stop and let it go and move on from that, which was fun for us to hear. So people can have whatever their version of a wonderful, loving partnership is. I mean, we just really enjoy being sweet with each other. That's our thing. Yeah. But other people have their own design. So I know we've touched on this, but how can a man tell a woman is trying to seal the deal? What would be some hallmark signs of that? Because a lot of guys can tell right from the first date.
Yeah, and men can pick up on anxiety, and there's a certain anxiety when someone is trying to seal the deal, and men could feel that, and it could take the form of a woman is texting all the time, and it's not being reciprocated. That she's planning early on, like vacations or meeting the family, all these things. Again, missing steps along the way, important steps where it's great to plan for vacations and to meet the family. That's very important. But if a man feels like this is being done prematurely, he's uneasy. That like it may feel to a man like a train that slowly starts moving and picking up momentum and starts going really fast. And the only way to stop it is either he'll just go along with it and seal the deal, or he's going to have to jump off the train, or the train's going to wind up in a horrible wreck. But that's why women are sometimes so surprised when a man ghosts a woman when she thinks it's going so well, because he realizes this is a train that's picking up momentum and he doesn't know how to stop it. And so he'll either break off the relationship just, through text or in person, or ghost.
Right.
Because he's panicked, saying this was going great. And suddenly he feels like, oh my gosh, this is going to be this. She thinks that we're going to, wind up happily ever after. This is going to be the last person I ever have intimacy with, and all of that. And so there's no foundation that's established of trust and safety and shared experiences and time together.
I just saw such a brilliant example of trying to seal the deal. There is a Netflix show, it's in its second season now, called Sex Life. And we always warn our clients not to date men who are freshly out of a divorce. But there's a woman who she's actually this guy's boss, and she really has been impressed by him for years. And she tells him that he's the reason why she came to work at the company that they're at and all. And she really, for a moment, brings out his masculinity because the wife isn't doing that for him. Mm. And so he winds up leaving the wife and having an affair having a relationship with the boss. But you very quickly see how she is trying to seal the deal. And she's literally saying, I really appreciate you. And when are you going to leave your wife? And she's really pushing him to do this. And of course, once he's in the relationship with her, he sees that she starts talking about their future. When are we going to get married? When are we going to go look at rings? And he can't get out of the apartment fast enough to go buy Chinese food. He's like, I'm going to go pick up some food. And he's at the Chinese place, and there's messages, texts popping up on his screen. Can you pick up some sesame chicken? Can you get some dumplings? And this woman standing across sees this and says, oh, wow, your girlfriend, she's really on top of it. And he's just like, he winds up in the bathroom with the other woman. Well, it's called Sex Life, so it's very risque. But that's the way it is. Like he was running from one to the other, and then when he saw like all she wanted was a husband and a ring and a husband, and he hadn't even gotten divorced yet. So. Yeah, it's really the minute a man senses that, it's horrifying. It can be scary as hell. Yeah. Scary as hell. How do women stop doing this? We touched on it, but let's just kind of conclude with that. How does a woman stop?
Well, it's about enjoying the journey, trusting that if a relationship is meant to happen, it will happen. And for it to happen, it means that both people are willing and ready and hopefully have done their work entering into the courting phase, and that a man is allowed to pursue and a woman can show gratitude, appreciation, as can a man. And that a man feels like he's the man in the relationship and not just a product to obtain.
And how does she do that? Let's think about the woman in our mastermind who just went through this extraordinary process of surrender and letting go. And she loves the man that she's with now, and he has been showing up for her in every way, every single beautiful way. And the more she lets go and stops trying to control, the more he feels it. So at Christmas time, she really was hoping that there would be an engagement and a ring. And that didn't happen, right? That didn't happen. And she was deeply disappointed because she thought it would. And we coached her through that process. And she realized how much she loves him and how much has been going on in both of their lives this year. And she could really see with compassion that it wasn't his time. And so in letting go of that and taking it off the table, and when she really came back on a call, she said, I realized that taking it off the table meant taking it off the table. Like, I have to invest him with the power to make the decision when he's ready in his own time. And I have to decide for myself if this is where I want to be. And it is. This is where I want to be. And I love him. And in doing so, he started coming toward, when can we see each other? Will you come over? Can you stay the weekend? So once she did that, and she took that out of the way genuinely, And I know a lot of women listening are thinking, but what if I want to get married? What if that is important to me? Well, you're going to get it a lot faster, and it's going to be a lot more genuine if you give a man a chance to actually come forward. And look, if in a couple of years he hasn't proposed, she may reassess that and decide, look, maybe this man isn't able to commit in the way I need him to. Or maybe I don't even need marriage anymore because we're living together. We have this beautiful life, and that ring that I've had before and that piece of paper didn't mean anything. So maybe this really is all I really need, or all we need, because we love each other. So she'll reassess that down the line, and you can reassess it. If it really is important to you, you can't force it. But if it isn't coming, and if you really sense that a man is avoidant, then you may have to let the relationship go and find a man who you really feel wants the same things you do. We have a client right now, a pilot who is so awesome.
Right,
We
right.
loved her. I knew, like you meet some of these women and you know they're destined to find this. And she did. A beautiful couple, gorgeous. She's in her late 50s for sure. But they are so beautiful, such a beautiful couple.
Yeah.
And she really wanted the ring, the marriage, the proposal, and all. And she also surrendered to that process. She gave her partner the space to do it. He kept saying to her, I will. And I need to just make sure that I do this in my time. And she gave him the space to do that. And they're now engaged. I'm going to be interviewing them soon. I think in the next couple of weeks, I finally have an interview with them. And that will be on my midday. I do a broadcast called Finding the Guardian of Your Soul at 11:30 a.m. on Tuesdays. So that will air then. And
Mountain time.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, that could be any time, anywhere in the world. And so please tune in to watch Cindy. It's going to be a beautiful interview, I know, because she's such a deep person and such a beautiful woman inside and out. I know she'll be very inspiring for people. But she surrendered. She let go of control and gave him the reins. He knew what she wanted. And I think she really saw enough there. He was giving her enough signs and saying the right things. And she could see that he envisioned a life together. So we're not talking about just giving up your dreams or letting go of something that's deeply important to you. If a man isn't showing you signs that he wants that, and he just needs the time to do it in his own time. But if a man is being vague, or if he's telling you, well, I don't know, and I don't really want marriage, and, if he's saying things and doing things that are not giving you the idea that he wants the things that you want and they're important to you, then you also can make a decision to move on. And if he changes his mind and he wants to come back, then maybe you'll re-explore that. So surrendering doesn't mean that you give up. It means that you let go of trying to control things, and then you see what's really coming towards you. When you let go of control, you can actually see things more clearly or clearer. Would it be clearer or more clearly?
I think both would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That always confuses me. All right. Any last words, babe?
No, I love what you just said, that when someone is so focused on something, like sealing the deal, their perspective narrows.
Yeah.
And when they are more surrendered in the definition you gave for surrendering, their perspective widens. And not only can they see more of that person, but they could see more potential, what the relationship could be like, and they enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah. And I know in my heart of hearts that you're here because this is where you want to be, not because I gave you ultimatums or tried to manipulate you into something, because this is where you truly want to be. And that was not only the greatest gift you gave to me, it's one of the greatest gifts I gave to myself. To trust that I was enough for a man who I really admire and respect and adore, that I was enough and that I could have that and that I would find a man who wanted what I had to offer. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I love you.
I love you too, babe. This has been Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Thank you so much for watching today. I thought that this was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And please come back, tell everyone you know, your brothers and your fathers and your sisters, mothers, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, your girlfriends, your guy friends, everyone you know about these broadcasts. We really put our heart and soul into the work that we do because we know what's possible and we want this for you. Anyone can have this if they're really willing to do the work to find it. So please never, ever, ever, ever give up on love. Finding the right partnership, finding the guardian of your soul is the most beautiful gift you can ever give yourself in this lifetime. Please go to lisashield.com and click the button to watch my free presentation. And if you'd like to have a consult with us to see if you're a good fit for our work and if we can help you get this solved, then stay to the end of the presentation. That's where you can book a call and we will let you know if we feel that you're a fit for our program and if we can help you. And also send your suggestions to podcast@lisashield.com. We do listen to them. Give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart. And please rate and like this podcast wherever you get your podcasts and let us know your thoughts. We really want to hear from you. It's deeply important to us to know that we are talking about the things that you want to hear about, that we're getting to the subjects that are important to you as well. Benjamin and I often choose topics based on what we see with our own clients and what they're doing and where they need help. And so that's what we're here for. We usually pull from them, but we also want to hear from you as well. We send you so much love and light in your journey to finding the guardian of your soul. Thank you, and come back again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.